It's not letting me go live. Oh, it is.
Yay!
Okay, everyone's yes, boy, we have a lot to talk about today. Hi, welcome to Coffee with Kim. I am Kim Bassett, your host, and we had some interesting technical difficulties that we will talk about a little bit later, but I am really super excited about this guest today. And this guest is become so special to me. And we are going to have just an amazing conversation. I cannot wait for you to meet her. Today on Coffee with Kim, coming from California, is Lotus Goldkuhl. Lotus was raised near the California redwoods, and at an early age of 10, she had the influence and instruction of her mother in Sidereal Astrology, yoga, and being with nature. Now Lotus is an author, healer, and teacher as she now empowers people around the world using her degree in psychology and her many certification in other healing modalities such as yoga, theta healing, conversational hypnotherapy, and using these to help others find their true self. Lotus lives by the belief that all healing comes from within. Join me in welcoming Lotus to Coffee with Kim. Oh my goodness. So everyone, the reason why this started a little weird is we've literally been going for about 5 minutes into our show, and I realized that we weren't live, and all of my connections had like blown up. So I had to fix that really quick. And so Lotus is like, "Oh my goodness, what have I gotten myself into?"
No, I'm happy to be here. This is great.
Oh, thank you so much for being here. And she did mention at the end, I forgot that it was Mercury retrograde, and that affects technology, doesn't it?
Big time. Big
Yeah, so we'll
time.
talk about that. But I want them to know your beautiful, beautiful story.
Yeah. Okay. Well, first of all, thank you so much, Kim. So beautiful how you hold space and share us with the world like you do. I'm really touched. It's beautiful. So I grew up in California and I grew up trying to figure out who I was and what my purpose was and how I could make a difference in the world. And a lot of that came from an early upbringing of going out into nature and really connecting with myself. I didn't go to public school until third grade. My mom was a total nature lover, and we'll talk more about that some more. But really, I spent a lot of time focused on the question of how can I heal myself? How can I transform my life? And what else is possible? How can I really embody my purpose? And so I went down a trail of learning all these healing modalities. And at the core of it, and you mentioned this, is that healing really comes from within. And I think I learned that as a child. I didn't go to public school until third grade. I spent most of my time in nature. I really learned what it felt like to feel the peace and the calm of nature. And that actually led me to a lot of the work I do now with sidereal astrology, which we'll talk more about, and really
Yeah.
allowing the guidance of the stars themselves, right? Those bright, beautiful orbs of light that have focused and fascinated us as children to just guide us to all of these solutions and answers we never thought we could find before. And
Yeah.
that's why I'm just so excited to share this all with you today.
Yeah. It is such an honor for me to share this with you. I got to meet you through, a mutual mentor, Joel Bauer, and he and many of, peers and students have been on the show. And you and I got connected recently, and I've immediately, when I attended your class, I felt a connection to you. And so I'm like, okay, I definitely want to share her with the world. But I also wanted to a little bit more of knowing what I had. And when I was in that class, we discovered I was on the cusp of Libra and Virgo. And even as a child, I loved astrology. We had, they had the astrologies in the newspaper, and I would cut them out and I would read them. And I never said, that's going to predict my future. But I also did look at as a guidance, stick for me. But when I attended your class, What did I discover? I just that I'm not a Libra, I'm a Virgo.
Right. You were really patient with this. I really appreciate your flexibility and openness for learning something new and seeing how that fits for you.
Yeah.
How has that been for you after our working together, and has that changed things for you?
Yeah, it has been really great. I mean, I knew a little bit about it, you know, and having 6 kids, I just like to tinker in all of this. But with the way you do things and the depth and the knowledge, what I've learned probably more than anything is what is inside of us. I kind of filtered it with myself, but I saw it in you. You
Mm,
always had this inside of you, and now you are allowing it and bringing it, and you're helping to empower people. And more than anything, I feel more empowered. I feel the
mm,
things that I kind of suspected about myself, or thought I could be about, that was there. But what you did is you unlocked the gates and said, this is aligned, this makes sense, this is, you know, there was just some clarity that came from it.
yeah. So I'd love to share just a little bit more about how I'm able to help you. And it's great because I like to think of myself as an interpreter of the stars. And so I'm just channeling the information that the stars in our chart give us. And so my mom actually taught me this system. And she was a young woman in LA in the 1970s. And she met a woman who told her about this new thing called sidereal astrology. And most of us have never even heard of this before. And what
Mhm.
it means is of or pertaining to the stars. So it's literally all about the stars. That's what it means. And basically, the Western tropical system of astrology most people use is based on the seasons. So if we look back in the ancient times, Greek and Roman times, they wanted to create a system that was marked by, spring, summer, fall, winter for their crops, but it wasn't focused on the actual location of the stars themselves. And then with the advent of the precessions, which means every year there's a slight wobble in the earth, and so that changes the degrees at which something moves. Essentially, if you were to take a telescope and look up at the sky, what you would see, what Western astrology would say, is that the sun is in Capricorn right now. But if you were to take a telescope and talk to an astronomer, they would actually say, no, the sun is still in Sagittarius. And so sidereal will change the sign by almost a full degree. And it's
Wow.
accurate. It's accurate to the stars. If we would go with the telescope, look right now, that's what we would see. And as a young child, I realized just, how children are, they hear something and it makes sense. They're like, yeah, of course.
Mhm.
I was like, yeah, that makes sense. And so I grew up just learning this and studying it. And it's actually a very small percentage of astrologers who do sidereal. And so I'm really excited to bring it to people because this is a good example. So let's say we have an airplane, right? We have a destination. Let's say we want to have the best relationship ever, and we're going to get on our airplane. We're going to fly to the outcome of our best relationship ever, or more money, or the best job, or whatever our outcome we're seeking to have.
Mhm.
But let's say the air pilot that we're trusting to fly us there, what if their navigational system is off by 1 degree? And I looked this up, and if you go off 1 degree, it won't be a big deal at first. But after a couple miles, it starts adding up and adding up and adding up until finally you could be 1,000, 100,000 miles away from where you start just by being off 1 degree. And so that's the importance of this work, is allowing people to know their astrology chart as accurately as possible to what the stars are truly saying. And that's what I love to share with you and with others. And that's why it works so well.
So what if someone doesn't really know, they've heard their sign, but they really haven't, why, what does this help? How does this help them? You know, if someone says to you, why should I even look at this? Why is this even of help to me?
Yeah. Well, I'll tell like a little bit of a personal story myself. I was in a relationship. I was really unhappy and I didn't know what to do. I was kind of confused and didn't know which direction to go. And I kind of remembered, oh yeah, my mom taught me sidereal astrology. I remember she taught me something called the North Node, and that's this point in the chart that's like a destiny point. And if you know this point, it gives you all this, it like unlocks the door of like your purpose and your path and like that area where it might be really challenging, but if you pursue it, you're going to have all this great success. It's like you know that moment when you choose a path that feels challenging, but you do it. And then you have this feeling like you've climbed a mountain and you've won. And it's like, oh, that was amazing. How did I get here? And so I looked my chart up and I found out what my sign was. And house, the sign in the house. Once I knew that, I went, oh my God, what I'm doing is the opposite of what it's telling me I should be doing, which is be independent. I was being codependent. It said, you need to be independent. You need to focus on yourself and you need to focus on your hobbies. And I was like, really? Okay. So I did it. Within 1 week, I'd moved out. I had gotten a new job, a car, and out of the relationship, and I'd started a whole new life just from that one little piece of information where I'd been stuck, I'd been spinning my wheels, and then boom, transformation. So it's kind of like a quick pass to unlock the door of like that. You know, when you have that moment of realization where everything changes, but you couldn't change until you had that moment of realization?
Yeah, because we
I
just
feel
we want to hold on to what's comfortable and what
yeah,
we know.
yeah, yeah. And if we do want to do something that's uncomfortable, sometimes having another person sort of give you permission, like that's a good thing for you. You should do that. Can kind of unlock the path to move forwards.
Wow. So and when I was, doing my research with you, um, you also grew up as an empath. And
Yeah.
I, I'm reading a book on it right now and I've known about it, but I really do think that there's a lot of us that experience that. And I'd like you to kind of explain a little bit what that is too, because I think we all need that right now.
Yeah. So, I want to say, like, how many of you raise your hand have been feeling some intense energies, right? How many of you wake up and you feel something and you don't quite know what it is, and then you read the news and something really major happened? Or, how many of you feel something in your body before it happens with your family or a friend, and then they'll call you and you'll be like, oh, I felt that. Right? So empathy, empath, I like to think of it as to feel, right?
Okay.
And so us empaths have a kind of, you had a dial and you turn the knob up, you have this heightened awareness of sensation and sometimes intuition as well. And I kind of think, Kim, and tell me what you think about this, that maybe more and more people are just getting awakening, like their intuition is awakening, their awareness is awakening. It's kind of like widespread.
Yeah, I
Because I
agree.
grew up this way, and it seems to me that more and more people are talking about it, like you
Yeah.
know, in books.
And we're talking about, well, I think growing up for me, just depending on, where you grow up in your culture and things, is that was kind of like a thing that oh, that's kind of the unknown. That's kind of scary. That's kind of,
Woo woo.
yeah, yeah. Right? And you shouldn't do that, right? And I've even had people come to me, with my bracelets, with crystals and stuff. They're like, I really am attracted to them. I really like them, but it's probably not something we should be doing. And I'm like, and this is how I explain it
Mhm.
is to them, and this has kind of been an aha for moment for them is okay, if you believe that God created this earth, He created everything for us here, and these crystals or rocks or whatever, these are not man-made. They're of this earth. And so that is what we are given.
Yeah, that's interesting you bring up the rocks and the crystals. Because I grew up out in nature. And recently I've been like, how do I bring the stars to Earth? Like, how do I help ground this? You look at the stars, a powerful, uplifting energy. How do I ground it? And so I've been discovering flower essences. And flower essences, it's a similar thing where flowers are from the earth, right? They're
Yes.
from the creation. They're perfect. They're unchanged by their very essence is clean and pure and beautiful.
Yeah.
And so you can actually do a lot of work with the stars and your astrology chart and with flower essences and crystals like you do that can help people specifically dial in. Well, let's say the word frequency. Okay, so
I like the frequency. Yeah.
yeah, so I was like, flower essences, crystals, people say woo woo, but here's
Yeah.
something to be scientific. So bees, when they go to pollinate or find a flower, they're not just smelling it, right? They're actually using electromagnetic sensory to sense the vibration, the frequency, and the electrical output of that flower. Because everything goes off a frequency from a flower to a human to a thought form to an emotion. Everything goes off energy. It's
Yes.
it's not static. And so, like you said, the rocks, like each rock has a frequency. And then if we're trying to transform or shift something, it's just a matter of finding that perfect aligned frequency that's going to shift or transform. Let's say we're stuck or tired or depressed. Well, what if we add a little bit of this frequency? And then you have people having, like, oh, I feel so much better. And that can happen with your crystals. It can happen with a conversation. It's
Oh,
just
yeah.
amazing.
And music. I mean, the things that, I love the frequency music. And you told me specifically which one I should go listen to, last week when I wasn't feeling very good. And I was like, oh my gosh, you have to just keep coming back to this beautiful world.
Right.
And the
100%.
stars, yeah, the stars, they give a frequency. And that's what I just realized when you said that. It's like everything gives off a frequency. And it's like, how can these stars be so powerful? But they are.
Right. Right. And that kind of brings me to bringing up that today and like 20 minutes ago was
Yeah.
the apex of the full moon. In the very beginning of Cancer, the end degrees of Gemini and the sidereal system. And, I just wanted to mention that the full moon is a powerful time. Um, what have you noticed with full moons?
Well, evidently my computer wasn't working a few minutes ago. But I think there is a very powerful energy,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I was very, very tired, not feeling really great. I don't know if it was viral or just me, feeling that way, but I was really, really tired.
Okay. So one thing, there's a couple of things, and some of them are a little, we'll see. But but a full moon, if you think about the ocean, right?
Hmm.
And the tides, and that the moon actually controls the tides themselves.
Yes.
And then you think about the human body and how we're about 80, 90, 70, or some high percentage of water,
Yes.
that full moon energy literally affects the waters of the body. And it actually draws the blood of the body up to the surface of the skin.
Oh,
So
wow.
if you have any toxins in your body, if you have anything at all that's not 100%, be it emotion, be it physical, be it a thought, the moon is going to pull it up to the surface.
Oh, wow.
So raise your hand if you have felt anything coming up today. This is the apex of what stuff coming up will feel like every month, every single month. And so it's a powerful time to honor yourself and take it slow and drink lots of water to flush your body. It's a little bit like a clearing that's just naturally happening. Um,
Okay.
and just we're in a natural world, right? We have the stars and the moon and the sun and plants and flowers and nature. We're in cycles and systems. So these things affect us. And I think one of the biggest gifts my mom taught me is to honor those and to honor our time in nature and honor those cycles and seasons with maybe I'll take a nap today. Maybe I'll drink some extra water. Maybe I'll write in my journal. Maybe I'll write, just be aware or do a meditation. Um, I went on a walk today. Like I went out hiking up on
Oh,
up on
wow.
a canyon, and it'd been raining, and it was so beautiful in the clouds, and I felt myself grounding. And that's so important, grounding the energies. Right? So if the stars are up here and the moon, those energies kind of radiate onto us. And then we can kind of feel them. And one of the best things we can do is to go out and put our feet on the ground, breathe in the fresh air, and just move. And that can really start to clear anything that's
I,
coming up for us.
you saying that in my, she did so much work when she did, my reading and helped me learn more about myself. And she went and found a quote that I had done a few weeks, several years ago. And it was, when you get into your head, get into your body. And that reminds me of that because I
Mhm.
tend to get into my head a lot. And I know other people that do too.
Yes. Well, with technology, and that's so interesting you say that because today's full moon is at the end of Sidereal Gemini, the beginning of Cancer. And Gemini is all about the mind. It's all about thought. It's very mental. It's like the person who's doing 12 different things and is not working, is talking on the phone. So the full moon in Gemini with the Mercury retrograde, Mercury is the planet of communication, and the moon in the planet of communication as well can maybe cause a little, like that's why maybe the system was like overloaded, right? So
Yeah.
the way to handle that mental energy is like you said, you got to get into your heart, you got to get in your body and breathe.
Yeah.
That's
I,
the solution.
I love this story though. I'm going to shift a little bit because I want to make sure we get some of this stuff in here because I really want people to know about the great things about you. But your mother would take you out of school to teach you this.
Yeah. So my mom, bless her heart, is amazing. She kind of grew up, I think, a little bit ahead of her time and was
Oh,
aware of
yeah.
things before a lot of people. And when it was the solstice or the equinox, which are powerful times on the earth, she would say, okay, you're going to stay home today and we're going to go out on a hike. And so we would go out into nature. My mom has always done meditation around me, has always had a spiritual practice. And so we would go out, and she was really good at just sitting in nature and just really allowing the energies to just move through her and honor it. And so that really taught me about there's something that important that it would take me out of school, and it was nature. It was actually nature and the power of our connection to this earth. Yeah,
Wow.
very sacred stuff. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Um, what else? Oh, I was gonna say, is there anything that you are like, Kim, I want to make sure this gets told?
Yes, I'm really excited. So I learned about sidereal astrology from my mom, like age 7 or 8. It's been like over 30 years of learning about this stuff. And so I had my own thing happen in December, like right before I gave your session and spoke to you about your astrology chart. So I've been going along doing this system, and there's a really great teacher out there who teaches about sidereal astrology. And I came across this video, and it talked about something called the 13 sign system. And I was like, what is that? Like I've been doing this a long time, but I didn't know. And so what it is, this is amazing. It blows my mind. So way back in ancient times, in the ancient mystery schools, okay, we're thinking Egypt and beyond, is ancient times, they taught that this zodiac, like we have a 12 sign zodiac now, they
Mm-hmm.
taught there were actually 13 signs to the zodiac. Yeah. And that these 13 signs is amazing because it kind of lines up with the fact that there are 13 moons of the year, which lines up with the feminine reproductive system, which lines up with the feminine healer. It's all lined up with that energy of the feminine. And then during Babylonian times, Greek and Roman, they actually took the 13th sign out of the zodiac, which is like, wow, that's a little bit like there's a mystery here. You know, you can feel it when
Yes.
something like that happens. Why did they take this sign out? And so NASA, 3 years ago, this is so bizarre, came out with the idea that, well, astrologers, people who love astrology, there are actually 13 signs. And it was like huge backlash. Astrologers were like, well, astronomers, you're not astrologers, so you can't tell us what to do. And I was like,
Wow.
wow. But if you were to take a telescope and go up to the night sky between Scorpio and Sagittarius, there is a 13th sign, and they call it Ophiuchus, which is kind of a bizarre name. And it's only 2 weeks, but it's, I believe, November 29th to December 17th. So if you're born during that time, you would actually be in this 13 sign system, Ophiuchus. And what is that? So Ophiuchus is connected to this ancient healer. In Egypt, it was Imhotep. And Imhotep was a great healer and teacher, and it's really connected to healing. And so Ophiuchus has a ton to do with healing and the divine feminine and the divine masculine and all these energies of like the secret mystery schools and attainment and enlightenment.
Wow.
And I just learned last night that there's something called the galactic center of the galaxy, of the universe, and that Ophiuchus literally is right next to the galactic center. And so every time of year between November 29th and December 17th, we are lining up with the energy of Ophiuchus and the energy of the galactic center. And so it's, according to a lot of astrologers I've been studying recently, has a lot to do with huge transformation. Kind of like the image for Ophiuchus is a man with a snake, and he's subduing the snake. He's like mastering the snake. I
Wow.
don't know if you're familiar with the snake in symbology, Kim, but
Mm-mm.
it's normally associated with the Kundalini energy, which in
Yeah.
yoga is used to activate the energy and to help us achieve enlightenment. And
Mm-hmm.
so, what it's coming together, what I'm seeing is that this energy of Ophiuchus is a lot to do with enlightenment and with mastery and with the secret knowledge that guides us there. As well, it has to do with the divine feminine as leader, teacher, and healer. And so I find it very interesting that the sort of patriarchal societies of Rome and Babylon and Greece took that sign actually out of the zodiac thousands of years ago. And now, 3 years ago, it's finally coming back.
Wow.
Um, so I feel like something's coming in terms of like the feminine healer, teacher,
Sure.
leader
Leader.
returning to this world and returning to help support and uplift our world.
Yeah. No, I think it's good because it does, right? You're seeing more and more of us coming out and talking about healing, talking about, leading, and yeah, I'm so excited. I started, Googling and reading more and more about that because it really did connect with me. So
Yeah, and there's so much to learn about it. I think I'm going to work on creating a show or podcast where I interview some of these great sidereal teachers and speakers, and because they're following a system that accurate. It's based on the stars themselves and is based
Yeah.
on a reality that even NASA says is true. NASA says, yes, there's a 13th sign. It's right between Scorpio and Sagittarius.
Yep.
It changes everyone's sun sign. So definitely contact me if anyone is interested in learning what your new sun sign would be.
Oh
It
my gosh, yes. And
actually,
I'm gonna talk, I'm gonna show it right here. We're gonna show it because I'm like, I want, oh, the other thing I have to show, because it's one of my favorite things, is she sent me this picture when she was doing this, and it was like so me, and anybody that knows me will see it. It has to do, I am so connected to the ocean,
mm,
and I love yellows and blues and energy. You can see the energy here. I mean, there could not ever be a better picture that depicted me, in my opinion, other than if I didn't have a baby on there.
there is a power in that picture of the divine feminine and her radiance and her magic. And I think as a woman, right, we're both women, there's a magic that lives within women. And nature brings that out in us. It's a feeling that we feel when we're out connecting to the earth and the sun and our purpose. And
Yeah,
that's why I love doing readings with people. It's really my mission is to help to align people to that feeling of transcendence, of empowerment, of this is who I am and this is why I'm here.
yeah. And I
Definitely.
and I think we get stuck sometimes, unfortunately, right? We get so stuck in the day to day of just getting through the day. And I think the word intention and, like you said, purpose and living more to that
Mhm.
aligns us, it awakens us, it brings happiness.
Wow. So that is so true. And it brings me to something I thought of today that I wanted to share, which is that um, so we have a full moon today, right?
Hmm.
There's something magical that happens on a full moon and something challenging. And so, how to explain it is that in astrology, the sun represents the soul, or in other words, that purpose, right? That like that's who we are. And when we live
Hmm.
it and we activate it and we shine it, it's like we're so happy. Like when I see you do your show, I can just see you lit up, right? That's your
Yeah.
soul. That's that light. Um, and then we have our moon, the moon sign. And the moon is so interesting because it has to do with our emotion, right? It has to do with
Hmm.
our childhood, our parenting, our mothering, our nurturing energies. And here's the thing, as wonderful as emotions are and our feelings, which we have to always acknowledge because they're there,
Yeah.
a lot of our emotions are based on our thoughts and our conditioning. And so sometimes our emotions can hold us back from our soul, right?
Yes.
Because we're listening to the programming or the thoughts or the conditioning from our parents or our friends or our society that we're like, our soul is saying, go forwards and shine. And we're like, but I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't. Will they approve of me? There's so many things we have to sort of transform. And
Yes.
so on the sun, on the full moon day, we have the sun and the moon opposite each other, opposite. So what does that mean? That means that our soul urge, who we are, and our emotional nature are like really close together. And we're pushed. There's like a pressure. There's a pressure that comes, and that's why it can be so intense. But as a yoga teacher, what I've learned is pressure is power. Okay. And it's all about how we use that pressure. So in yoga, we talk about doing two separate things at the same time to create a beautiful outcome. And I just thought maybe I could guide you through this real quick so you can see
Yes,
it
please.
in the body.
I was hoping that you would lead us through something. So this
Yeah,
is awesome.
yeah. So I was walking in nature and this came to me. So just go ahead and just feel your body. Just take a breath in and out. Good. You can be doing whatever you're doing and just allow yourself to just feel you. That's the most important. And then take a nice deep breath in and imagine yourself rooting to the earth. Just imagine yourself, your roots are going deep into the earth. You are rooting to the earth. You are engaging with the power, the frequency of your roots to this earth. Good. And then take a nice deep breath in and a nice deep breath out. Good. And then from that rooting down, inhale and either imagine yourself lifting up or lift your arms up at the same time. And then exhale, let your arms come down. And just imagine yourself take your left fist, root it down towards the earth, and then bring your right fist and lift it up. So root down with the left, lift up with the right. And that is rooting to rise. And then just take a nice deep breath in and a nice deep breath out. And release it all. And just feel that power of pressure, right? You can push down, you can lift up. And that between that motion of the rooting down and the pushing up, there's this power, this engagement, where it's like you can be totally stable and strong, and you can expand and open, right? And open wide. And exhale and just let it all go. And then Kim, because you mentioned it, let's just take all that energy and let's just rub our hands together for a moment.
I love this part.
This is the best. Everyone feel free to join us. We got our hands, and this is a good way to build a fire, and a fire of purification, a fire of clearing, because the full moon brings everything up. We talked about this. It was bringing everything up. Our technology wasn't working. It's this perfect moment to put all the stuff you're feeling, all your stuff into your hands. I know it's getting hot. It's getting hot because we're probably feeling all this energy, all our friends, all our empaths. So everyone who's putting that stress energy in there, that overwhelm energy in there. Good. Deep breath in, deep breath out. And then on the count of 3, we're just going to imagine Mama Earth has this beautiful compost, this beautiful place to receive this excess energy. And she's going to compost it for us. So anything we no longer need, anything we no longer desire, let's just clear it out. Take a deep breath in. 1, 2, 3, and just let it go.
God, you feel that energy, right?
Yeah. And just, feel the tingling in your hands. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. And just feel that kind of washing over you. You've activated the energy. You've cleared some energy. And then sometimes I'll say a prayer, like Creator of all that is, please shower everyone with pure, unconditional love and light. Please release and clear anything and everything that no longer serves. And just shake out the hands, shake out the head, just let it all go, right? The full moon is a great time to come together and release all the stuff we don't need anymore.
Oh, wow. Well, we will come back and on a new moon, and you can teach us about the new moon.
Oh, that's even more fun. Yeah, that's all about, creating our vision of our life the way we'd like to have. So,
yeah. Oh my goodness. Thank you so, so much. And as always, our guests are so generous with their gifts. And we have a gift. So if you reach out to the Lotus Method now at gmail.com, you will get a free 15-minute call. And I promise you, I took advantage of that. And I invested in her, and it was so worth my time and my investment. It was amazing. So thank you for being here and for being a part of this. I do want to, in closing, we're going to do a quick little sizzle reel that just tells you a little bit more about what she does and what people have experienced. I know you guys are used to hearing from me, but it's nice to hear from other people as well. And I'm going to make sure I can see, hopefully, cross our fingers that this also works. Put your hand on the back of your friend.
That was so appropriate for the world, and so empowering, and so appreciated. This woman empowers everything she touches.
She's found something inside of herself
And I do believe if she was focused on you and wanted you to heal,
It will give you the opportunity to access places and spaces, locations and destinations that you've never been to before.
she's got power and knowledge and the ability to implement her knowledge. I want you to pay attention to her. It's something special.
The energy went through us all.
Lotus is the one you really want to connect with.
This makes me feel like so grounded, so calm and peaceful. Something inside of me, I feel change. I never felt that way before.
Oh my God, she actually resembles the beauty of the lotus itself.
You gave me a permission to connect with my soul.
How many of you have been touched by her presence at this event?
And I have a gift to share with you. So come, and I will be so excited to share all that I've learned so that I can hold your hand and bring you with me.
Lotus, thank you again. Appreciate you.
It's an honor, and it's sending you all the best for a beautiful rest of your day and healing and transformation for all of you online. Just remember to love each other and shower each other with the kindness that we all are.
Yeah. Thank you. Oh, another great coffee with Kim. I hope, please make comments. We'd love to know, what your takeaways are from today. And thank you again for being here and being patient with us, as things don't always turn out the way you want. But I pray and hope you have the best week yet.